So I was thinking about what to do this afternoon, because there's so many things in the book to go through. And I was tempted to continue with where we left off. And then I thought, we spent a good chunk of time, some last night, some today, talking about how to apply the Dharma to our current situation in the country. And I think now we need to touch base with the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, okay? Because those are our two main fields of creating merit. The Buddha, Dharma, Sangha because of their excellent qualities, and sentient beings because of their suffering. So we've talked a lot about working with sentient beings, and in order to do that, we have to really create a very strong relationship with the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Because without that relationship and that feeling of connection and refuge, then we very easily could fall into discouragement, which is not at all helpful. So in the last chapter, Precious Garland has 5 chapters. In the last chapter, Nagarjuna talks a little bit about the Buddha's qualities, and then he introduces a 20-verse prayer that is one that he recommends that we recite every day. So I thought I would go through that, okay? And, it's in the book. You can, take it out. And it's quite beautiful and inspiring. The chapter that it's in, or should I say right before he talks about this prayer, he talks about the 10 powers of the Buddha as a way of helping us to see something about the end of the path, where we're going, what kind of abilities that we'll have as a Buddha, and then introduces the 20-verse prayer as one of the methods to create the merit and create the causes to arrive there. So I thought to go briefly over the 10 powers of the Buddha, just very briefly. We could take a long time, but we won't. I'll try. So these 10 powers of the Buddha are found in both the Pali tradition and the Sanskrit tradition. So, there's one Pali Sutra where it's the greater sutta on the lion's roar in the Pali canon, and then also the Sutta of the 10 grounds in the Sanskrit, canon, or the Sanskrit tradition, I should say. Okay, so these are 10 special qualities possessed only by a Buddha. So the first one is it's called the 10 powers, okay? So the first power is the power of knowing sources and non-sources. So here source means cause. So what this means, knowing sources and non-sources, it means knowing what is the cause of virtue and what is the cause, what is the cause of happiness and what is the cause of suffering. So virtue is the cause of happiness, non-virtue the cause of suffering. Now, the Buddha did not make up, this is virtue, so do this and then you get a reward. It's not like that. It's rather the Buddha could see when he looked at sentient beings' experience that when they experienced happiness, he called the actions they did that were the karmic cause of that happiness, he called that virtue. And when sentient beings experience suffering, the Buddha, with his clairvoyant powers or supernormal powers, could see what actions sentient beings did that brought the result of suffering, and those actions were called non-virtue. So that's how virtue and non-virtue came to be identified. The Buddha didn't create, okay, this leads to this result. He just described how that works. Okay? Let's see. So this first power of knowing sources and non-sources, the Buddha is able to describe, when you see sentient beings being happy or unhappy, he knows the causes of that happiness or unhappiness. Okay? Then the second one is the power of knowing the ripening of karma. So, we have innumerable sentient beings, and they have created innumerable karmas, actions in the past, present, and future. And so the Buddha knows what they are, and he knows their results. Okay? So when it's said that only a Buddha can know all the specific details of karma and how it ripens. We can get the general idea, but looking and saying, okay, so-and-so sitting here today, what actions did they do in a previous life to create this rebirth? That's something only the Buddha would know. So that's the second power of knowing, what were the special karmic causes for each person's rebirth. The third power is the power of knowing the various interests. So sentient beings, as we know, have different interests, besides the fact that some like football and others like basketball, and I don't like either of them. Sentient beings in terms of their, spiritual path, they have different interests. And so the Buddha knows what these interests are, and thus can address them when he's teaching. Okay, so he knows how best he can appreciate the interests, and also knows how best to communicate with sentient beings. The fourth one is the power to know sentient beings' different dispositions. And so, sentient beings do have different dispositions, don't they? Some people like to meditate more, some people offer service, some people, study, some people like studying this, some people like learning that. So all these kinds of things are within the Buddha's, the power of Buddha's mind to know. So when we see these kinds of powers that the Buddha has, then we know why he's a most excellent teacher. Yeah, because I don't know about you, but I don't have these powers. So we may want to help sentient beings, but if we don't have these kind of powers to really know how sentient beings function on an individual basis, we aren't able to benefit them most effectively. Okay, I think we all deal with that in our lives, don't we? We see some kind of suffering, we want to do something about it, and then we go, what do I do? We don't know what to do, or I want to say something, but what do I say? And so you can really see that to have the sensitivity as well as the super knowledge that knows these things would be really helpful if we want to be of benefit. The fifth one is knowing sentient beings' various faculties. So this knows the superior and inferior faculties of sentient beings. So sometimes we hear His Holiness talk about sharp faculty disciples and then dull faculty disciples. Or if we want to be more polite, modest faculty disciples. Okay? But and so this refers to the faculties of faith, effort, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. And so in some people, those five faculties are very strong, so they're able to understand things more quickly, and other people, they are duller and they need to be sharpened. So we aren't born with sharp or dull faculties. These are things that we can develop. And His Holiness really encourages us to try our best to be sharp faculty disciples. So a sharp faculty disciple is somebody who relies on reasoning, who investigates, who analyzes, who thinks about things to see if the teachings make sense. A dull faculty disciple is someone who takes things on faith. Oh, my teacher said that, so it must be like that. Oh, the Buddha said that, so it must be right. So the reason why using reasoning is considered a sharp faculty is because if our confidence in the three jewels is based on reasoning, then it can't easily be dislodged. Yeah, because we have good reasons for believing the teachings. We've thought about them, we've checked them out. If our engagement with the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, with the path, is just on the basis of faith, then if somebody comes along and tells us something other than what we have faith in, we will start to question what we believe in. And if somebody else tells us something really good, we may even change religions altogether. Yeah? And so just having faith is considered dull faculty. Thank you. Because it's not so stable. Okay? So the Buddha knows who is sharp, who is dull, and so then he can teach accordingly. And you can really see that with some teachers. Some really emphasize more devotional practices because they're helping those disciples that rely on faith, and other teachers teach more the philosophy because they're addressing those disciples that are thinking about philosophy. Okay. Then so that was the fifth one. The sixth one is the power of knowing the paths that lead to various destinations. So the Buddha can very easily know who will follow the Bodhisattva path to full awakening and go through the 10 Bodhisattva bhumis, or 10 grounds, and who will follow the hearer path to arhatship, or the solitary realizer path to arhatship. He also knows, the paths, meaning the actions that will lead to lower rebirth, the paths that lead to higher rebirth. Yeah. And so this shows us that when the Buddha teaches about these things, he's reliable because he can see these things directly through having an omniscient mind. So when we talk about these 10 powers of the Buddha, it's not only so that we get an idea of what Buddha is and what the Buddha can do, but also to inspire us to practice the path so we can develop these qualities and then be able to benefit sentient beings using these same qualities. So don't just see this as a list of 10, but think, okay, this is one you can contemplate this. Oh, this is why the Buddha is a reliable refuge. He's not just making something up and marketing it, this weekend on a special deal, but knows these things through direct realization. This is what we can attain as well. Then the seventh is the power of knowing the afflictions and purifications. So this is referring when you develop deep states of concentration that correspond with the form and formless realms, those levels of concentration, then you meditate on the disadvantages of the realms lower that don't have such strong concentration, and the benefits of the stages where you have stronger concentration. And then that helps you aspire to attain the higher states of concentration. So the Buddha knows all about these levels of concentration. When you study these, they're quite amazing, and what the meditators can do with their mind, going from one level to the other and in and out of different states of concentration. It's kind of mind-boggling. Then the 8th one, and the 8th, 9th, and 10th are often called, the three of them together are called the higher knowledges, because according to the traditional view in the Pali Sutra, these are the three things, the three knowledges that the Buddha came to have when he sat under the Bodhi tree. Yeah? So that evening when he meditated, there were three special knowledges that he understood, and these are the last three of the 10 powers. So the number 8 is the power of remembering previous lives. So here the Buddha could look back in the whole continuum of his mind stream, and he knew all of his previous lives, who he was born as, what he experienced, and so on. Now, let me ask you, if you could see all of your previous lives, what do you think your internal response would be to seeing them? What do you think how the Buddha responded, on the path to seeing beginningless lifetimes?
Freedom.
You have to speak loudly.
I want to be free of this.
Yeah, I want to be free of this. It's like, okay, I've experienced all that, and now I want to be free. Okay, yeah?
Learn the causes. How one kind of action led to the next.
Yeah, he would know the causes, he knew the results, he wanted to be free of both of those. Because you may know the causes, but if you don't want to be free of them, yeah. So what's this determination to be free?
Renunciation.
Yeah, that's renunciation. It's the first of the three principal aspects of the path, isn't it? Okay. Then the second knowledge the Buddha gained was, which is the 9th of the 10 powers, is the power of knowing the births and deaths of all sentient beings. So the Buddha, without any confusion, could see each and every sentient being, dying and being reborn, dying and being reborn. So knowing all their previous lives, seeing them being born according to karma, dying according to karma, being reborn, dying again. So if you were able to see that for each and every sentient being, what do you think would be your response? What do you think the Buddha really understood? Compassion, isn't it? Great compassion for seeing the sentient being stuck in a cyclic existence like that. And that compassion would lead to bodhicitta, to the wish to become awakened in order to be able to benefit these beings directly. That's the second of the three principal aspects of the path, isn't it? Okay, then the third higher knowledge, and this is the 10th power, the third thing the Buddha realized under the Bodhi tree, is the power knowing the cessation of pollution. So here, pollution means ignorance, afflictions, all the latencies. In other words, the two kinds of obscurations, the afflictive obscurations that prevent liberation, and the cognitive obscurations that prevent omniscience. Okay? And so this power knows that by meditating on emptiness and selflessness, it's possible to overcome these two kinds of obscurations. And so this power knows, this power in the Buddha knows, okay, I realized emptiness, I meditated, I cleansed the mind, and now I know that these obscurations are forever finished. So what do you, if you had that, yeah, what would your response be?
There's a way.
Yeah, joy, wouldn't it? Bliss. And what's the thing that's the key for you? You know, the key in eliminating the obscurations? What is it that is the actual thing that eliminates the obscurations from the mind? Wisdom. So it's the wisdom realizing emptiness in particular that is what purifies the mind. Other meditations can reduce the power of afflictions, but only this wisdom, knowing the emptiness of true existence, can cut the root and purify the mind totally. And so that wisdom is the third principal aspect of the path, isn't it? So it's interesting how these three knowledges that the Buddha gained prior to his awakening correspond with the three principal aspects of the path. Okay, so those 10 powers are posited from the viewpoint of the 10 objects of a Buddha's omniscient mind, but those 10 powers themselves are all omniscient mind. Okay, they're all consciousnesses. Not all of those powers exist exclusively in the Buddha's mind. There may be arhats and some bodhisattvas that have them, but only the Buddhas have an omniscient mind that has those 10 powers. Okay. Then there's a section here that is the way to amass limitless merit. Okay, so before that, Kanzer Jumpa Tekchok says, the inconceivability and immeasurability of the Buddha's qualities is due to an inestimable, you can't estimate it, collection of merit. Okay? So without understanding the limitless causes of the various qualities of the Buddhas, we will not be able to comprehend or appreciate the 10 powers or their inconceivability. Yeah? So it's not just thinking about the qualities, but it's thinking about what a Buddha did to create the causes for those qualities. And so that is what makes the bodhisattva path much longer than the hearer's path, because bodhisattvas create this enormous amount of merit and meditate in a very versatile way. Okay, and so the result they attain is much more advanced, much higher than that of an arhat. So knowing that the causes of even one of a Buddha's qualities is beyond our imagination and ability to know inspires confidence in the excellence of the Buddhas and their ability to guide us to awakening. Okay, now Nagarjuna goes into the way to amass that limitless merit. Okay, so we've seen something of the result. The cause is the collection of merit. How do we create that merit? So now he's going to get into this verse, these 20 verses. So he begins with, therefore, each day, 3 times a day, before a stupa, statue or elsewhere, you should perform the recitation of the following 20 verses. So this is his instruction to us, okay? Because this is a very effective way to accumulate the great amount of merit that we need to attain the Bodhisattva's paths and grounds, and thus the Buddhahood that results from them. Okay, so here's the first 3 verses, and then I'll explain them. Okay. So these first 3 verses will probably sound quite familiar. That's because they include the 7 Limb Prayer, which we did an abbreviated version of when we started this session here, and which also exists in the King of Prayers that you recite. Okay, so here the wording is a bit different. Honoring in all ways the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and also the Bodhisattvas, I take refuge in them and pay homage to those worthy of homage. I turn away from all negativity and embrace all merit. I rejoice in all the merit amassed by sentient beings. With bowed head and palms together, I beseech all perfect Buddhas to turn the wheel of Dharma and remain as long as beings remain. Beautiful, isn't it? Yeah? I mean, this kind of practice, when you're feeling kind of down, or you're feeling like, oh, this world is too much, then you visualize in the space in front of you the Buddha surrounded by all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and you have yourself surrounded by all sentient beings. You know, like I said yesterday, the Senate on one side, the Congress on the other, and you know, the President in front of you, maybe the Supreme Court behind you, you know, Putin and everybody else, you know, wherever you want them, and then of course the people you don't like, as well as the people you do like, and all sentient beings, strangers included, you know, and so you create this scene, and then you use it to create merit, to generate positive attitudes in your mind. Now, you might say, well, but you know, the Buddha's not here, and this is all kind of make-believe, and I need to work with reality. Well, that kind of view is based on the assumption that what we are seeing with our senses is reality. Okay. When you start learning about the correct view, we begin to doubt our senses and that what we're seeing is an objective reality. Because that's the whole idea of emptiness, is that we think everything is objective, out there, concrete, having its own essence, and that it exists. How we're perceiving it is how it exists. But when we start to use reasoning and investigate how things exist, we see that how they appear to us is not how they exist. They appear objective, out there, independent. They actually exist dependent on many other factors, causes, conditions, parts, and also our mind, which conceives and designates them. So, you know, as we start to do some analysis and investigation, we realize that as the world that we are feeling so terrible about is actually a projection of our own mind. You know, that our mind has some role in it creating this experience. So that it's imagining the Buddhas in front of us and us surrounded by all sentient beings. really isn't so far out, because actually we are surrounded by all sentient beings, and the Buddhas are present. We're just too busy thinking of chocolate to think of them. You know, we're too busy worrying about taxes and stuff like that to think of the Buddhas. But, you know, if we shift our awareness, yeah, they're there, sentient beings are there. So we create some alternative facts, which are much more factual than you know, the other ones that we hear about. Okay, because, you know, we shouldn't trust our senses. We shouldn't trust our opinionated, judgmental mind. We trust all of our opinions, don't we? You know, if I think it, it must be true. This must be the way things are. Why? Because I think it, and I would never think anything wrong. And I think it because that's the way it appears to me. But we never consider that what appears to us in part depending on our karma, and in part depending upon how we interpret the situation, and in part due to the causes and conditions which very often we are ignorant of. So we judge things, assume things, form opinions that we are sure are true, and when we begin to investigate, we begin to see that maybe they're not true. Okay? So Cheryl was saying something about that this morning, you know, really questioning our assumptions and our opinions. I mean, a very simple example is you think of somebody that hurt you, and you can instantly name 10 things, 10 qualities they have that make them absolutely despicable. And you are sure that from beginning to end, this person is despicable, worthless. You never want to be in touch with them ever again, because all they're ever going to do is harm you. And then there's somebody else who sees the same person and looks at that same person and says, wow, this person's so wonderful. I really care about them. They have so many good qualities. Okay, now who's right? There's one person, okay? He shows his bad qualities to me, so I think he's all bad through and through. He shows his good qualities to somebody else. That person thinks he's good through and through. What is he objectively? Neither. What is he? A confused sentient being. Yeah, who is worthy of compassion. He's not thoroughly good, he's not thoroughly bad. But our mind, when we form opinions of people, boy, we hold on to those and make them concrete, don't we? Yeah. This person is like this. They're always going to be like this. And then we get worked up and we're frustrated and we're angry. And even if the other person acts in an opposite way, we can't see it at all because we're suspicious of them. Yeah. Oh, they apologized to me. Oh, I know all about that. They want something out of me now. That's how we do it. Okay? So you can see that, you know, imagining the peaceful Buddhas in front of us, because there are Buddhas in this universe, that's not make-believe. But our opinions about other sentient beings are make-believe. Yeah, it's kind of shocking when you think about it. And then you know that when you get really stuck in your old view of, oh, these sentient beings, that what you need to do is sit down and imagine being in the presence of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And remember that there are holy beings in this universe. And turn our minds towards them. Yeah? And those people, the holy beings, they're our real friends. Yeah, they're the people who are our real friends. And so we make offerings and do all these things in relationship to them. But we usually take refuge in sentient beings instead. And what happens when we take refuge in sentient beings? Yeah, we're disappointed, aren't we? Because they don't have the ability to lead us. Okay. So these 3 verses that I just read are a brief presentation of the 7 branches of practice for purifying and creating merit. First, we pay homage, prostrate, and take refuge in the 3 jewels by respectfully bowing with our body, speech, and mind. So physically bowing, vowing verbally means saying the verse. Bowing mentally means imagining the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the space in front of us. The Buddhas are those who possess the 4 Buddha bodies. The Dharma is the true paths and true cessations in the continuums of Aryas. The Sangha consists of all the Aryas. The Aryas are those who've realized emptiness directly. So the Sangha consists of all the Aryas, as well as the Bodhisattvas who are not yet Aryas. We physically bow by joining our palms and bowing down to touch the 5 points. So when we do prostrations, the 5 points, 2 knees, 2 hands, and our forehead. We verbally bow by reciting this verse, and we mentally bow by visualizing the 3 jewels in front of us and by having a mind of faith and confidence in them. Okay, then the next verse expresses the branches of confession and rejoicing. So that's where it says, I turn away from all negativity and embrace all merit. I rejoice in all the merit amassed by all sentient beings. So taking responsibility for our destructive actions, we reveal the negativities we've done and make a determination to restrain ourselves in the future. And then we also restore the relationship by taking refuge and generating bodhicitta, and we do some kind of remedial action. So those are the 4 opponent powers. Okay. So we do this by way of the 4 powers. 1, having regret, not guilt, for our behavior. 2, taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. 3, making a determination to avoid the action in the future. And 4, engaging in a remedial activity. Okay? Then, to accumulate as much merit as possible through the practice of generosity, ethical conduct, fortitude, and so on, we rejoice at any and all virtuous actions of body, speech, and mind that we and other people have done. So rejoicing in the virtues of ourselves and others is the antidote to jealousy. So jealousy can't stand other people's good qualities because they're better than us, or they create more merit and I'm jealous. And so this is the antidote to it. We rejoice. How wonderful that there's holy beings who create so much merit. How wonderful there's bodhisattvas that manifest in multiple bodies and go out and benefit sentient beings. How wonderful that, ordinary beings spend the last day of nice weather in Seattle coming to a Dharma teaching. That's something to rejoice at, because a lot of people are outside today. So, yeah, rejoicing at others' virtue is they say, the easy person's way to accumulate a lot of merit. And it makes the mind really happy. Because when we're jealous and we're always comparing ourselves to others, we become so unhappy. But when we think of others' qualities and fortune and virtue, then our own mind becomes happy. Okay. Then the next verse, articulates the two branches of requesting the Buddhas to teach and imploring them to remain in cyclic existence. So these are also two really important branches. And what they remedy for us is taking the teachings and the teacher for granted. Yeah, because we tend to think, Buddhism is always here. Today is a nice Saturday with good weather. I think I'll go bicycling or go do something else today. There will be another teaching later on I can go to. And so we tend to take our possibility to engage with the Dharma for granted. But when we do these two things of requesting teachings, then that helps us to appreciate the opportunity to encounter the Buddha's teachings and to receive them. And then we request the Buddha to continue to manifest and appear in this universe to teach us. And we request our teachers to have a long life because we recognize that we really need their guidance. Okay? So those two branches are very important. Okay, then the next verse. Through the merit of doing this and the merit I have done and will do, may all sentient beings be endowed with unsurpassed bodhicitta. So that's the branch of dedication. Yeah. So we're looking back at the first 7 branches that we did in those 3 verses, rejoicing at the merit and then taking that merit and directing it all so that all sentient beings will be endowed with unsurpassed bodhicitta. So you think of the people you don't like, yeah, and you think of them all having bodhicitta, and that you're dedicating the merit for them to have bodhicitta. I always go to the hardest people it is to work with. They say you should actually dedicate for your friends and relatives. That makes your mind happy. Then dedicate for strangers. That's a little bit hard. Then go to the people you don't like. I always go to the people I don't like first because that really helps my mind. Yeah, it really helps to turn the mind a lot. Okay, then, so that verse begins many verses that detail this last branch, the branch of dedication. So, so the rest is all basically dedication verses, but they're also aspiration verses, for what we want to have on the path and what we want to accomplish. Okay, so 2 more verses. May all sentient beings have immaculate faculties and transcend the unfree states. May they control their own actions and live by right livelihood. So that's talking about, just in a worldly way. May sentient beings have happiness and may they create the causes of it. Yeah, may all embodied beings have jewels in their hands, and may a limitless amount of all kinds of necessities remain inexhaustible for as long as cyclic existence endures. So may sentient beings, while they're stuck in cyclic existence, have everything they need. Yeah. So these 2 verses, we dedicate that sentient beings may have stainless faculties in their mind stream. Okay, so the sharp faculties like we just talked about. May all of those who live in the unfree states, So if you think of the precious human life and the 8 unfree states, may they all be free of those states, and may they have the 10 freedoms of a precious human life so that they're able to practice the Dharma. May they control their own actions, so that line means so that they have physical, verbal, and mental freedom. In other words, we have freedom in what we think, say, and do, freedom to come and go, and not be tormented, oppressed, and controlled by others. This can also, in a worldly way, to not face oppression and discrimination ourselves, or for anybody else to face those. And in a more Dharma way, may we not be controlled by ignorance and afflictions and our previous karma, such that we don't have any freedom. So we think in this country, oh, we have freedom. Yeah, I can go to the grocery store that's open 24/7 and buy cookies anytime that I want to. I have freedom. That's not freedom. From a Buddhist viewpoint, that's being captive to our attachment. Okay? So real freedom means freedom from afflictions, freedom from karma. Yeah, that's the real thing we want to be free from. Okay, then we're also dedicating, may sentient beings earn their livelihood by good means, so that may they not earn their livelihood by making weapons, by making chemicals that destroy the environment, by hinting or flattering or corruption or embezzlement or anything like that. And may they never engage in occupations that involve harming sentient beings. Yeah, so we dedicate our merit so that that would come about. That would make things really different. Yeah? If sentient beings earn their livelihood through right livelihood, yeah, it would make this world very different. From the moment of their birth, may sentient beings have everything they need to accomplish all their virtuous aspirations, as if they were born with jewels in their hands. So may they never lack anything, and may they never have a feeling of entitlement because they don't lack anything. Yeah, may they always be appreciative, and may these kinds of excellent qualities never be exhausted until samsara is emptied. Okay, then the next 2 verses. At all times may all women become supreme persons. May all beings be endowed with intelligence and legs. Okay, so it says, may those who prefer not to take a female rebirth be born as males. Probably by the opposite way too. May all those who don't want male rebirth be born as females. And this line also expresses the wish that all women become Buddhas or other supreme persons. Yeah. So we can also add what else dedication we want for women here. May there be gender equality in the world. Okay, and then when it says, may all beings be endowed with intelligence and legs, here it's intelligence and legs is the higher training in wisdom and in ethical conduct. Okay, so intelligence refers to the higher training in wisdom, supported by concentration, and legs refers to ethical conduct. And it's called legs because by practicing good ethical conduct, we will eventually become wise in all ways. The next verse says, may all beings have a good complexion and also a good physique. Yeah, so this is not dedicating so that everybody be gorgeous models. It has a deeper meaning, which I'll explain in a minute. May they be radiant and pleasant to behold, free of illness. May they be strong and live long. Okay, so it says, may all beings have a color and body of great splendor. This splendor refers to the magnificence certain people have, even if they are not good looking. Yeah? So have you met people who maybe physically they're not good looking, but there's a vibe around them that really takes you in and really touches your heart. And so they say that that's due to practicing the third perfection, the perfection of patience or fortitude, which counteracts anger. And the reason is, when we're angry, we don't look very attractive. When we practice fortitude, then our expression is nice, and then that comes across to other people, as attractive. And also, when we practice ethical conduct, then that makes us attractive because, we're acting in respectful ways of other sentient beings. Okay, and may all sentient beings be radiant, have a pleasant appearance, and be free from illness. May they have a strong constitution and live long. Okay, so these are qualities of higher rebirth, which are very helpful. Then the next verse says, may they all gain expertise and skillful means and become free of all dukkha. Dukkha is often translated as suffering. It means unsatisfactory experiences. May they be devoted to the three jewels and have the great treasure of the Buddha Dharma. Okay, so may they all gain expertise and skillful means. So skillful means refers to the skill in practicing, pacifying and eliminating the first two truths, true dukkha and true origin, or true suffering and true origin. May they be free of all the different kinds of dukkha in all realms of cyclic existence. Whether it's the ouch kind of dukkha or the dukkha of change, where we have happiness that doesn't last, or the pervasive dukkha of conditioning, which means just having a body and mind under the control of afflictions and karma. May we be free, all sentient beings be free of all of that. Okay, may they be devoted to the three jewels and have the great treasure of the Buddha Dharma. Okay, so may we take refuge in the causal Buddha Dharma and Sangha, so the Buddha Dharma and Sangha that already exist, and by practicing the path, may we become the resultant three jewels. Okay, so may we become the Buddha Dharma and Sangha. And so may all sentient beings possess these kind of great qualities of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Okay, next verse. May they be adorned with love, compassion, joy, and the ability to remain equanimous in the face of hardship. So those are the four immeasurables. Okay, may they also be endowed with generosity, ethical conduct, fortitude, joyous effort, meditative stability, and wisdom. Those are the 6 perfections. Okay, so really dedicating that the sentient beings have these kinds of qualities. And to think, wouldn't it be nice if sentient beings all had love, the wish for others to have happiness and its causes, and think of, what about if they would all have compassion, the wish for others to be free of suffering and its causes. Our world would be completely different. Samsara would be on the way out. What about having joy, rejoicing in others' possibilities and virtue, and then also wishing sentient beings to have equanimity, where they didn't, have a judgmental mind that consider some people special, and so they play favorites and favor those people and disadvantage other people. That would be nice too, huh? So we're dedicating for all of this. Thus adorned, may they complete all the collections, so the collection of wisdom and merit, and obtaining brilliant signs and marks. So these are the 32 signs and 80 marks of a fully awakened one. Okay, so thus adorned, may they complete all the collections, and obtaining brilliant signs and marks, may they traverse without hindrance the 10 grounds to the inconceivable. So may they traverse the 10 bodhisattva grounds, beginning with the joyous ground, and may they traverse them and wind up at the inconceivable, which is full awakening. And may they, while they train in the path, may they gain the physical signs that are a similitude of the signs and marks of Buddhas, and may they be able to traverse all these paths and grounds without any hindrance or obstruction. So, we're going through this rather quickly, but if you spend some time and you read each verse and you really think about it and really wish that for others, it makes your heart so happy. Yeah? Because when we are wishing positive things for other sentient beings and imagining them having these kinds of traits, our own heart gets very light, very, it's really a tremendous way to nourish ourselves spiritually and create merit. So, yeah, that's why we do these kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And then may I also be adorned with these good qualities and all others as well. May I become free from all faults, and may I attain supreme love for all beings. So just as we're dedicating that other beings may have these qualities, we're dedicating that we too may have them. And then attaining supreme love for all beings. Yeah. So what would it feel like? How would you feel if you had supreme love, the thought wanting others to have happiness and its causes? If you had that just spontaneously in your mind whenever you looked at anybody, how would that be for you? Imagine being somebody who had that kind of quality when you just gazed out at anybody who walked by you on the street. That'd be pretty remarkable, wouldn't it? You'd feel so joyous. Your heart would feel so open. You wouldn't have any fear of other living beings in your mind at all. All fear would be totally gone. May I perfect the virtues to which all beings aspire. And may I always dispel the dukkha of all embodied beings. Okay, so again, here dedicating for ourselves. Yeah, so may we generate all these virtues. Yeah, and may we, having generated all these virtues, may we then interact with sentient beings and teach them and lead them on the path so that all of their dukkha, their unsatisfactory conditions can be dispelled. Okay. So all this virtue was dedicated for the benefit of all sentient beings and can be summarized by dedicating for them to be free of faults and adorned with all qualities. That is, to become an omniscient Buddha who is the sole friend and protector of all wandering beings in cyclic existence. Okay, so having dedicated this way for others, then we do it for ourselves as well. Then the next verse says, in all worlds may all beings who are feeling anxious due to fear become completely fearless merely by hearing my name. Okay? So in all worlds, may all those who are feeling anxious due to fear, or feeling fearful due to anxiety, in other words, may all beings who are worried, who are uncomfortable, who are unsure about the unpredictability of samsara and what will happen to them in the future, may they become completely fearless. And may that happen by them just hearing my name. Yeah? Wouldn't that be remarkable if we could make it so that the people who felt helpless felt hope just by hearing our name, or that the people who felt disempowered felt empowered by hearing our name. So this is the way the bodhisattvas, they say, they bless their own name, so that, you know, when sentient beings say it, then they feel inspired, and that creates the cause for them to practice to gain those kind of qualities of those bodhisattvas. Okay? And then the next verse says, from seeing and thinking of me, and from merely hearing my name, may beings become clear-minded, undisturbed, and at ease. Yeah. So just by hearing my name, just by being who I am, you know, after I've purified my mind and developed all these good qualities, may I have that kind of effect on other living beings. So that from seeing and thinking of me and hearing my name, they become clear-minded, undisturbed, and at ease. Some people tell me, and these are people who are not Buddhists, that they go to a public talk given by His Holiness Dalai Lama, and His Holiness walks on stage, and they told me that they find themselves just spontaneously weeping, just from seeing His Holiness. You know? That's where you really see the power of ethical conduct, of fortitude, of wisdom and compassion, and so on. You know, because when somebody has those qualities, just their very being, for lack of a better word, their vibe, you know, communicates something to other sentient beings that gives them hope. You know, and hope and optimism are really essential for advancing on the path and for helping other living beings. So wouldn't that be nice? Yeah? If people just kind of saw a picture of you and they felt spiritually inspired. Yeah. Right now in our society, you know, we want people to see a picture of us and think we're sexy and buy the product that we're advertising. Yeah. That's the worldly way. what we aspire for in a worldly way. Here is to have an effect on sentient beings that really uplifts them, and makes them see possibilities in their lives that they've never seen or felt before. Okay, so may they become clear-minded, undisturbed, and at ease. Then the next verse, may it be definite that they awaken, and in all their future lives may they attain the 5 superknowledges. In all ways may I always do what brings benefit and happiness to all beings. Okay, so may all beings who see or think or of me or hear my name, may they abide in joy, may their minds be lucid and free of confusion, may they progress without regression on the path to awakening, may they be definite in the bodhisattva path and never fall to lower paths. May they never be reborn in the lower realms. Throughout their lives, may they attain the 5 super knowledges. So these are 5 qualities that enable somebody to really work for the benefit of sentient beings in a very skillful way. So let's see if I can remember them. So the first one is supernormal powers. So this is the ability to make your body invisible, make it manifest, make it become many bodies, make it become one body again, to walk on water, walk through walls, fly in space, these kinds of things. Then there's a clairaudience, which gives you the power to hear things that are being said throughout the universe. So this gives bodhisattvas, they can eavesdrop on our conversations, but they do it with compassion, not with judgment, and that way they know how to help us. And it also gives them the ability to hear many Buddhas teach the Dharma. Okay, clairaudience, and there's the ability to remember previous lives. The clairvoyance, or what they call the divine eye, and that's the one that can see beings die and being reborn. And then what's the other one? Let me see if there's a list in here. There should be. Let's see if I can find it. Why can't I remember it? Okay. It doesn't.
Have a sense of have a sense of humor like his homework.
Oh, yes, that would be good, huh? Okay, super knowledge is 259. That doesn't list them. Let's see.
Audio too?
Huh?
Audio? Did we say that already? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mentioned the audio. Okay, there was another one too. Pardon? Oh yeah, knowing. Yeah, seeing others' minds. The clairvoyance knows future lives, and then seeing others' minds. Okay, that's what it is. Thank you. Okay. And then I like this last line. In all ways, may I always do what brings benefit and happiness to all living beings. Yeah? That kind of boils it down. May I never, ever become the source of harm or pain to any living being through what I think, through what I say, through what I do. Okay.
What was that last one? I didn't understand the fifth super.
Oh, okay, let's go through them again. So supernormal powers, so those are physical powers. Clairaudience, which can hear things at long distance. Clairvoyant, seeing others' past lives. Yeah, knowing others' minds. And then seeing how sentient beings are dying and reborn.
What is knowing others' mind?
Yeah, that's clairvoyance, what we usually call clairvoyance. And so if you're a bodhisattva with compassion and you have that ability, then you can know what and how to teach somebody. Yeah, so very useful. Okay. Next verse. May I always dissuade all at once all those beings of any world who intend to engage in negativity without doing them any harm. So when you feel really frustrated with politicians and big business and whatever, this is the verse. Okay? May I always dissuade all at once, yeah, through my ability to communicate, you know, and by the power of our virtue when we do communicate with others, may they take our words into their hearts, and may we dissuade them. All beings who create negativity, may we dissuade them from that negativity, help them to change their minds and their motivations, but without doing them any harm. Yeah, so we don't need to kill anybody. We don't need to ruin anybody, but by the force of our own virtue and our own spiritual qualities, may we have that kind of effect on other living beings. Like the earth, water, wind, and fire, medicinal herbs, and the trees in the wilderness, may I always freely become an object of enjoyment by all beings, just as they wish. Okay? So just as earth, water, wind, and fire, medicinal herbs and trees in the wilderness, this is when all property wasn't owned by somebody. Just as all those things are freely available to any and all sentient beings, they can go and take them. May we be an object of enjoyment for all sentient beings, just as they wish. So may we transform our body into the physical things they need, and may we be the kind of friend to them, or advisor, or whatever kind of relationship somebody needs to really affect them in a positive way. May we become that and influence others in that way. The next verse, may I be beloved of beings, and may they be more beloved to me than myself. May I bear the results of their negativities, and may they have the results of my virtue. So the first line, may I be beloved of beings. That's an interesting one. May everybody love me. But we're praying here, or we're dedicating here, not so that everybody will love me, so that I can feel like I'm a good person and I'm popular and I'm secure, and so that nobody will harm me. But may I be beloved to others so that they will trust me, and therefore I can influence them in a good way. That's what we're dedicating for. Yeah. So it's not just you know, may everybody love me because I'm me, but, you know, through them being attracted to me, through their trusting me, may I be able to benefit them. Okay. And not only may I be beloved of beings, but also may they be more beloved to me than myself. So may I cherish others more than I cherish myself. Yeah, and that is a really good recipe for freedom. Okay, when we're free of our self-centered mind, oh my goodness, what a relief, what kind of freedom we have. But we ordinary beings, when we hear cherish other beings more than ourselves, we get afraid. Yeah, oh, if I cherish them more than myself, then they'll have all that happiness, I won't have any, they'll take advantage of me, what will happen to me, this will be terrible. You know, if I don't cherish myself, who's going to take care of me? How will I have any happiness whatsoever? Yeah, so we get very anxious. So this verse is not saying that we don't take care of ourselves. Of course we take care of ourselves, otherwise we become a burden to everybody else. But, you know, if we really, if we can see other living beings and as precious and cherish them more than ourselves, then our own mind is totally free from this grip of the self-centered mind that makes us so super sensitive, so angry, so easily offended, so stuck in our ways, so opinionated, so stubborn. You know, wouldn't it be nice to be free of those kind of qualities that come from the self-centered mind? Yeah, you don't look too happy. Yeah? You should be going, yeah, I want to be free of all of that. So here we're dedicating for that kind of freedom, which comes from cherishing other living beings. Mm-hmm. May I bear the results of their negativity, and may they have the results of all my virtue. Okay, so it's one thing to wish others have possessions and fame and worldly things, but here we're dedicating, may I take all their negativity and may I give them all my virtue. Oh my God, do I want to take Trump's negativity? Yeah, do you want to take that? Do you want this guy's karma? Yeah, when you think of the karma he's creating, oh my goodness. Yeah? Or you think of the people who are waging war around this world, do we want to take upon ourselves their negativity and the karma that comes from killing so many sentient beings and torturing and oppressing others? You know, you need a lot of inner strength and compassion to want to do that. But that's what we're praying. May we have that kind of fortitude and compassion, you know, so that we're willing to, you know, if we could, to take all of their negativity and bear the results. And in return, to give them our body, our merit, you know, our possessions, so that they can have everything that they need. And through our giving these, may they find the path to awakening, practice it, and attain Buddhahood. So this is a pretty hefty dedication here. This verse is the root of the taking and giving meditation, the Tonglen practice. Okay? But this is where we're trying to get to through gradually chipping away at our self-centeredness. This is not a call for us to just say, okay, I sacrifice everything for others. You know, that's not what it's saying to do. It's saying gradually, through your wisdom, come to see the disadvantages of the self-centered thought. Then, with your wisdom, when you see those disadvantages, then you want to give that thought up. Then giving it up is not torture, because you recognize how much you're benefiting from giving it up. And you're seeing the benefit that you can give to other sentient beings, and that makes you totally joyful. Yeah? By giving up my self-centeredness, may I make other beings happy. Doesn't that make you happy? Yeah? I think it's, you know, sometimes parents, when they see their kids succeed, they're so happy. Well, I think this is even happier than that. Yeah? And because parents will give up a lot to see their kids succeed. But here, you know, we're doing that for all sentient beings and wanting them to succeed spiritually too, not just in the mundane world. Okay. Next verse. As long as there is even one sentient being somewhere who is not yet free from cyclic existence, may I remain in the world for that being's sake, even if I have attained peerless awakening. So this is just like the verse in Shantideva that His Holiness recites all the time. For as long as sentient being, now how does it go?
As long as space endures.
As long as space endures and as long as sentient beings remain, may I too abide to dispel the misery of the world. So this is Nagarjuna saying that same thing. And that's His Holiness's favorite verse. Okay, and then it says, so I think those are the 20 verses that he recommends that we say 3 times a day if possible, if not twice, and at least once, and if not that, then sometimes. But when you have some teachings on this, you can see the power of really sitting and meditating on these verses and transforming your mind so you think in this way. So this is a very good practice to do on long flights, okay? Where you have lots of time and you're just sitting in that seat and you can't move, then you read this and you meditate on it. So if the merit of making such statements were to be material, it would not fit into worlds as numerous as the grains of sands of the Ganges. This is what the Blessed One said, and the reason is here to be seen. The worlds of beings are immeasurable, and the intention to aid them is likewise. Beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. So, that's what we need to do. And we start out just by reciting these verses and making those aspirations. And then gradually we work ourselves into doing the actual practices that create the causes that bring those results. Yeah.
Is not the prayers before our practice or before teachings or before whatever we engage in for our minds contain the condensed version of the 20 verses? It seems like it does.
Yeah. This is basically a long 7-limb prayer, just as the King of Prayers is basically a long 7-limb prayer. But by unfolding that dedication one, then you really see all the specifics. Yeah.
Jane, do you want to bring the mic over? Yeah. Just so everybody can hear.
Oh, I didn't realize we had a roaming mic. Good.
The question came up earlier when we were having bookshop. Is it ethical to pay less than the $40 posted price, or is it allowed, or how is that viewed?
It depends on the bookstore. If the bookstore says these are for Dana, then you give whatever you want. If they say that these are for sale, then you should go along with whoever. You have to follow the guidelines of whoever owns the books. Yeah, and if you don't want to pay as much, you can ask them if you can pay less, or if it says Dana, then you give whatever you have. Yeah, or whatever you want to. Okay.
Could you speak a few words about emptiness, profound emptiness? I think it's because of the mistaken appearance and the ignorance of we think we are this body mind, and that's all we are, and we all separate and all that. So because of that, a lot of our mind becomes impure because of that, right? Whereas actually, if we just realize that that's not what we are emptiness, then it seems like the pure mind almost automatically without.
Okay, so emptiness, to speak about emptiness, it's the absence of the deepest kind of emptiness. It's the absence of inherent existence. So what inherent existence is a type of existence where it seems that everything is out there with its own objective essence, that it's there from its own side, completely independent of our mind, and even independent of causes and parts. You know, when you look at the cup, does it appear to you that it came about due to causes and conditions? When you just look at the cup, do you think this is something dependent, or does it look like there's a cup? It looks like there's a cup, doesn't it? Right there, in this thing, there is a cup. But if we start looking, what actually is the cup? What does the word cup refer to? In this thing, we can't find anything that is a cup. Yeah? So a cup comes about dependent on many other factors, but it appears to our senses to have some independent essence. In the same way, when you think I'm here. Yeah? You get that strong feeling. I'm here. Does that I that is here, do you think it exists only because the causes for it existed? When you think I'm here, do you think that I is there only because the causes for it existed? Is that the way you feel about I? No, I am here. There is no doubt about it. Forget causes and conditions. I don't depend on causes and conditions. I'm here. I'm always here. Everything revolves around me. You know? That's how we feel about the self. It becomes this incredible, rigid, concrete thing. But actually, we're only sitting here because of causes and conditions. Yeah? Some causes and conditions are previous karma. Some are the sperm and egg of our parents, the education we had, all the food we ate, what society is, and how our role in society. You know, who we are is dependent on so many other things. But when we think I, we don't think that we're dependent on anything else. Yeah, we just think I'm here. In fact, that is the most certain thing in our world, isn't it? Yeah, you may think, oh, I may lose my job, or, you know, my cat may die, or this may happen, or that may happen, but I am always here. Yeah? That's how much we grasp that I as having some kind of inherent nature. But when we start to investigate, we see that there's no inherent nature to that I at all. Nothing. That when we search the body and mind, we can't find anything that is who we are. And we find instead that the only way the I exists is by being designated on the basis of the body and mind. That's the only way the I comes into being, is by merely being designated on the collection of body and mind. When we say the words, we don't usually get some feeling. Every once in a while, a little bit of feeling comes. I only exist by being designated on the body and mind? There's no other me aside from that? And then we go, yikes. And then we go, no, I'm here. I'm sure I'm here. Yeah, that's how habituated we are with the self-grasping ignorance. Okay. So the wisdom that realizes emptiness sees that that kind of I doesn't exist. An I that is dependent on other factors exists, but that kind of I can't find it anywhere. Okay? Now, when we really see that holding on to that kind of I is the root of our suffering, when we see that, then this meditation of dismantling the sense of self is a big relief. But if we don't understand first that that ignorance is what makes us attached and makes us angry and makes us jealous and arrogant and lazy and negligent and disrespectful and everything else, if we don't realize that, then we get scared thinking that the I doesn't exist as it appears. But when we really are convinced that that ignorance, that wrong way of apprehending the I is really the source of my misery, then when some glimpse of emptiness comes, there's a feeling of relief. Like, oh, that doesn't exist. You know, I grew up believing there was a boogeyman, and now I'm realizing there's no boogeyman. Yeah, I mean, imagine if you were a little kid and your whole life you believed in the boogeyman. Did your parents teach you about the boogeyman when you were little? No? Little bit? Yeah, some people yes, some people no. You know there's a boogeyman under your bed, so if you don't behave right, the boogeyman's going to come when you're sleeping and hurt you. You know, this kind of stuff that adults like to torment children with. So the kid believes it their whole life. Yeah, and then at one point they realize, oh, there's no boogeyman. There's no monster under my bed. There's no monster anywhere. Then you feel so happy.
You're your own monster.
So it's the real I mean, we think this
Only an appearance to the mind. We can't find it. It's not something real we can draw a circle around. So the I is empty. The emptiness is a quality of the I. And the I that is empty is an I that exists only by being designated on the collection of body and mind. So we say the I is empty, but the I is not emptiness. Emptiness is a quality of the I.
So is it the mind? What is it that never dies? If it's not emptiness, is
What
it
is
the
it?
mind?
What is it that dies?
No, that never dies.
That never dies? There is a continuity of consciousness, but that consciousness is not the I.
Is that the mind stream?
The continuity is the mind stream, but the continuity of the mind is not the person, and that continuity is changing moment by moment. It never remains the same, and it is not who we are. Because sometimes that continuity, is born into becomes a hell being. Sometimes it's a god. Yeah, it's something that's always changing. There is no permanent, independent self or soul that gets reborn. Yeah.
Right, but so is it emptiness that is eternity? Like what is? I mean, this continuity and that it has all these different eyes that we respond to, but isn't that coming out of emptiness, or
And emptiness is the mode of existence. Everything that exists exists within emptiness because it is empty. But emptiness is not like some kind of cosmic energy that creates everything. It's not that. It's the lack of inherent existence. Emptiness is a lack of the incorrect way that we think things exist. Okay? It's not a positive phenomena, it's an absence. And everything has that quality of being empty. But emptiness is not a cause that produces things, because emptiness doesn't change. Yeah? Okay. This will be the last question.
This is very mundane compared to that. I don't really do this.
No, do it for the recording.
Well, what do I do with it?
Put it by your
It's on.
nose.
It's on. Okay.
Put it
I have, in my aging process, I have difficulty with my eyes. I'm unable to read your books. Have you? There's a few of His Holiness books that are that I get on Audible that I can listen to. And I know Jordan was mentioning the path, the book on the path. But have you thought about, like, this just came out, and have you ever thought of putting some of them on Audible or something like that?
Yeah, that depends on the publisher. What would be really nice is if you wrote a note to Wisdom Publications and said, please put this book on Audible. Yeah, somebody requested it for the first volume in the Library of Wisdom and Compassion. And you remember Peter Aronson?
Yeah.
He just did the audio. And so that first volume is on Audible now, and you can get it.
Is that through Wisdom?
Yeah.
Okay.
That one's through Wisdom, and this one also is Wisdom. Yeah?
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Because if it requests from people, then,
Well,
they'll do
me
it.
in a very difficult situation because I can't read the things that aren't out there, and they have tons of mysteries and all the things I don't want. And
Yeah.
it's very hard to find
Yeah.
good things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, write to Wisdom and tell them.
I will.
Good. Good. Yeah, because I'd like to see it get out that way so more people can have access. Okay, let's rejoice at the merit and dedicate it.